Welcome to Woman on Her Path. Every woman has her own unique path. But what does that mean? How does said woman know what her path is? How does she find the courage to follow her path? I am your host, Tiffany Cooper. I am a mother, energy worker, community herbalist, and bhakti yogi. By sharing my experiences and insights on my path, I hope to inspire and encourage you on yours. When we follow our path, we find the answers we need in life. Let's find answers together and create a better world for ourselves and those around us. Happy day, woman. I hope that you are having a relaxing day. And if you're not having a relaxing day, then I hope that your day will become more relaxing. I am actually in the process of setting reasonable boundaries for myself so that I can have as many relaxing days as possible. I love relaxing days. Now that we are finally enjoying spring, I am so in love with the trees around my house, all bursting with leaves and full of songbirds whose songs just go straight to my heart. It's just wonderful. But now that we are enjoying spring, yoga studios are fully opened up. People are planning get-togethers and outings. I've gotten numerous invitations for events and have been going to some of them. However, I am missing the pandemic. Of course, not the people getting sick or dying or living in anxiety part of the pandemic, but I am missing the quiet, fewer people in cars on the street and in shops, less pollution and noise part of the pandemic. That is the lifestyle I prefer. A peaceful life where I can take my time moving through it with intention. A lifestyle that allows me to be present in everything I do. A lifestyle that doesn't make me feel like I have to be out doing something in order to be alive. Just the other day, I was grumbling to a friend that I didn't like how busy I have been in the last few weeks. Then she said, "But it's good to be busy." And I replied, "No, it's not." And we both laughed. We Americans seem to have this strange mindset of thinking that the busier we are, the more important we are. We seem to have this weird hyper-productivity mentality that pushes us to keep going even when we are sick or tired. The saying, "I'll sleep when I'm dead," comes to mind, which happens to be one of my least favorite sayings because people often use it when referring to work. That saying is an example of how out of whack our lives have become. We are human beings and not machines. We are not meant to push ourselves, creating unnecessary stress and anxiety until we die. In Japan, there is even a word for it, karoshi. It shows such a deep disrespect for human life and a misguided reverence for work. We all need to work in some way to survive, but we are not meant to dedicate our entire lives to working. We are supposed to work to live, not live to work. We were not put on this planet to have a poor quality of life. Let me explain what I mean by quality of life. Quality of life is not about how many things we have or how big our homes are. Quality of life means being able to dedicate ourselves to something meaningful and important to us. It's about doing things that feed our souls and help others in the process. Life is way too short to waste it toiling away to make money for some company that doesn't even value us, while getting a measly salary that we can barely survive on. Worst of all, we waste our lives by not being present in them when we are working nonstop like machines. That is what has bothered me most about being so busy lately. I have been barely present in anything that I've done lately. For instance, I don't like to respond to messages from friends until I can sit down and pay attention and reply appropriately. Lately, I haven't had time to do that. Well, first, let me explain that I am not the best at returning messages. As I mentioned, I prefer to be present in my response, and I am not someone who is married to my phone. I also don't like to spend more time than necessary on my computer. There are so many ways to get in touch with people these days that it is overwhelming. I often miss the days before technology sent us into this nonstop communication fest. I need peace of mind and quiet from time to time. I don't like the constant distraction of mechanical or digital sounds. I prefer the sounds of nature and, of course, good old-fashioned silence. It is so important for us to have quiet time, to think and create, to know ourselves and get in touch with our own thoughts and feelings. When we are constantly overstimulated by the world around us, we end up feeling anxious and exhausted. But getting back to responding to friends, because I have been too busy to be attentive to messages, I just have not been responding. I've been worse at responding than I usually am. And I don't like that. When we are too busy, we lose track of who we are. Life becomes about what we are doing rather than what we are feeling. Are we enjoying all of this running around we are doing? How does it all affect our lives? What does all the activities we participate in bring to our lives? Life should be intentional. Why do something if it doesn't have meaning for us? Of course, there are some things that we must do in order to survive in the world, but there are so many things that we do because we think it makes us look better if we do them, or we do them because we think other people expect us to do them. Or sometimes we think if we don't do them, no one else will. Well, doing things to impress others is superficial, a waste of time, and not worth discussion. Doing things because others expect us to do them has to be weighed out. Are we doing things for people we love to help support our relationship with them? Or are we doing things that are expected of us because we don't want to be criticized? When we do things because we think they will not get done unless we do them, we are expressing our attachment to them and being self-important. The COVID times brought us a beautiful opportunity to slow down and be introspective. It was a chance for us to understand what we really want out of life without all the noise of being busy. Again, life is short, and perhaps some people think that if they get as much done as possible, then they won't have wasted it. However, life isn't about quantity, it's about quality. And even if we do the things we love over and over again, at some point they will lose their luster. Life is so enjoyable when we are present in what we do. Each moment becomes fulfilling. When we race around trying to do as many things as possible, we lose sight of the reasons we are doing whatever we are doing in the first place. Then they have no meaning, and it just becomes busy work. Now that the COVID times are over, I am trying to hold on to the energy of moving slow and staying present. A few years ago, I spent 5 weeks in India on a spiritual pilgrimage in a place called Vrindavan. The entire time I was there, I was in pure ecstasy. Vrindavan is in the north of India, in Uttar Pradesh. It is the playground of Lord Krishna, where he spent his childhood as a young cowherd boy, taking part in many adventures. Vrindavan is permeated with spiritual energy, and I felt like I was floating on a cloud the entire time I was there. The energy was absolutely precious. I spent all of my time there visiting temples, going to classes about bhakti, my spiritual practice, chanting and praying, going to kirtans, eating unbelievably delicious food, spending time in nature, and meeting loving people. Just living a simple life. While I was there, the energy of my life was turned on its head. Within days of arriving, I got clear messages about changes I needed to make in my life. And I was ready to make them as soon as I possibly could. There was no questioning or hesitation. I knew that what I was sensing was important. One of the main messages that I received was that I needed to slow down in life. I have always lived an active life. I have always had many passions and interests that have led me on lots of adventures. I love to learn new things and explore what life has to offer and interact with people. My life has always been busy, but when I got that message while in India, I instantly knew that it was right for me. All of the precious time I spent there being present, absorbing the magic all around me, and opening my heart showed me how necessary it is to focus on the quality of life I had cultivated for myself. To be able to sit with and integrate my experiences in order to grow. I have always been a fast learner, and throughout my lifetime, I have learned so much that I haven't had time to use it all. My life is still very full, and Lord knows I am involved in various endeavors. But now I have slowed down enough to go deeper into all that I do. By focusing on the depth of my life rather than the breadth of it, I feel even more fulfilled. Our lives can be as wide-reaching as possible, but the further out we go, the more superficial life becomes. So no, it's not good to be overly busy. It is good to be present in what we do and explore the depths of why we do what we do. That will lead us to a much more satisfying and happy life.
Clouds and birds warm the sky, another summer day. turns into a night, surfing through these electric times. Hold up, what you thinking, what you talking about? Cause all I really wanna do is go out. You're thinking about yourself, no big surprise.
A slow, intentional, meaningful life is so beneficial to us as human beings, but many keep pushing themselves for many reasons. Out of fear of missing out, out of fear of being alone with their own thoughts and feelings, out of fear of being looked at as unsuccessful. Living out of fear is one of the most counterproductive ways to live. Fear of missing out is so common now, especially with social media. With our phones lighting up constantly with reminders of people posting about things they've done just to impress others, we can feel like we are not doing enough. Especially since some people are now doing things just for the sake of posting pics. What a sad and superficial thing to do. To go through the time and expense to pretend that you are living an amazing life when you could actually be dedicating that time and expense to living an amazing life by taking your time and focusing on what is important in life. And who gives a damn if people think we're unsuccessful if we don't have the things that make us look successful? Like expensive things or an abundant social life. First of all, anyone who judges us by those standards is clearly lacking in substance themselves. So why would we care what they think? Secondly, success is not measured by our external appearance or the material things that we possess. Success is measured by how we feel inside and if we are satisfied with what we have, whether it's a lot or not. When I travel, I always find it so funny how in countries where people have far less than what we have here in the U.S., in those countries, people are always so much happier. In fact, in the rankings of the happiest countries in the world, the U.S. is never at the top of the list. So please let go of giving a damn whether you look successful or not. A truly successful person has nothing to prove. Especially not to those who don't know what success really is anyway. Finally, there are people who keep themselves busy so they don't have to be alone with themselves. For some people, it is scary to be quiet and think and feel. They may have certain things about themselves that they do not like. And when we're alone with nothing or no one else to focus on, we are left with ourselves and that critical voice that tells us that we are not good enough. The trick here is not to run from that voice, but to silence it. The way to silence it is to actually be quiet and learn to settle the mind. Some people don't like to be quiet and alone because they don't want to face the pain they feel in their lives. Makes sense, right? I mean, who wants to be with their hurt and lonely side all the time? Rather than stay busy or take substances to try to avoid the pain, which of course is only a temporary fix, we can do the work to heal, which is so very necessary anyway. We don't have to run from that side of ourselves or self-medicate. When we do the work to heal, we find that we actually really like ourselves. We are fun to be with. Our internal lives are a world unto themselves. Spirituality is a never-ending well of wisdom and satisfaction. We can focus on getting centered or grounded, as we say in yoga, connecting with that sense of stability and peace that allows us to be confident in who we are and how we live our lives. Being present in our lives also gives us so much peace. When we do things with intention and take the time to do them well, we get so much more satisfaction from them than if we are splitting our attention by doing a bunch of things at once. We women are skillful multitaskers, and many times we have to multitask. But if we are splitting our attention among many things, then nothing is getting our full attention. It almost pains me to say this, but it is like the myth that we women can have it all. That we can be attentive mothers and have high-powered careers while being perfect wives and the best of glamorous best friends to everyone. Well, when we attempt to do all of those things at once, something is lacking. A single human being cannot do and have everything all at once. It is not physically possible. It is not emotionally or mentally possible. Especially in this day and age where women are often trying to do all of these things without support, from those close to them or from society at large. With everything that is happening in the world right now, our children need us more than ever. To have to split our time with them with a demanding career is too much to ask. Our children need emotional and mental support as they grow up in a world that seems like it's crumbling and not offering them much hope for their future. Raising children is a tremendous duty in the first place, and to have to divide our time and not be able to put the energy required into it is tragic. We live in a world full of broken people, and we are just perpetuating the cycle of creating more lost, unstable, hurt, misguided people by not supporting the children of our society who will grow up to be broken adults. We do not have a work culture that is set up to support families besides providing workers with the financial means to do so. And sometimes it is barely providing workers with the financial means to do so. There is nothing wrong with a woman focusing on a career. It is so beautiful that we now have the opportunity to do so. But we are doing so with the expectation of playing by rules that have been made by a system that is not inclusive of our needs. Yes, we are used to doing this. Most of the world is arranged to put the needs of women last, but it is time for change. Instead of women trying to mold themselves into model men, we could be shifting systems to be more inclusive and to accommodate us as well. Not that we want to go from a patriarchy to a matriarchy. We just need to create a balance of both. When we pursue a high-powered career, we want to be good at that career, right? That means giving it the proper amount of time and energy. If we are trying to raise children and pursue a high-powered career at the same time, something will not get the attention it needs. Whether it's our career, our children, or ourselves. The care and keeping of human beings, especially young human beings, is an important job. There is a lot at stake, and if we do not give it enough energy or attention, the consequences are far-reaching. Guess what, woman? It is time for our tarot card reading. So, our query for this week will be, let's see, I had one in mind, but now it doesn't feel right. I think our query will be, let's make our query, what is it we need to do to live simpler lives? Not be so busy and be more present in our lives. That sounds a little convoluted, but the universe knows what we're talking about. Okay, so I'm being told that we need to work with 6 cards in this particular reading, which I am laying out as I speak. And the first card that comes to us in this reading is the 2 of Pentacles. The 2 of Pentacles. So the 2 of Pentacles is saying that what we need to do is in order to live simpler and happier lives, we have to make some decisions. We have to set boundaries for one thing, and we have to make decisions about where we want to spend our time and energy. As I mentioned before, we're used to running around and getting lots of invitations and doing all of these things in life. But if we really sit down and put some thought into what we're doing, we realize that much of what we're doing is unnecessary or unfulfilling or, just not, we're doing things that we don't have to do. And the reasons that we do them, I gave a list of them or a few of them earlier in the podcast. But if we take our time and be a little more discerning and look at things and say, okay, why am I doing this? What is the purpose? Am I doing it because this is fulfilling for me or for the people I love? Am I doing this just to be busy? Am I doing this because, whatever? So what we need to do is sit down and look at those things. When we get an invitation, think about, okay, is this something that I really need to participate in? Is this something that's helping a particular cause? Or, again, am I doing it for someone that I care about? We don't have to participate in everything that comes in front of us. We don't have to. We can make decisions. So that's what the 2 of Pentacles is telling us, is that rather than blindly doing something or just doing it because we feel like we have some sort of obligation, to really take a step back and make a decision about how we spend our time. Again, is this something, looking at it and saying, is this something that it is important for me to participate in, or is this something that I will just be spending time doing, not really getting anything or giving anything to the process? The other thing that I mentioned, this card is telling us, is about boundaries. And there are things that we need to say no to. Yep, we can say no. If someone invites us to a party where we're not feeling up to going, it may be that, the people who invited us are not such good friends, or we're just not in the frame of mind to be around people. Whatever it is, we can say no. We can give them an appropriate excuse. We don't have to lie. We don't have to make things up. We can say, I'm sorry. Perhaps we can get together another time, but I can't make it to the party because of A, B, and C. There are so many ways that we can gently say no to people. We don't have to be rude about it, but we don't have to accept an invitation simply because we don't know how to say no. So maybe do some practice around that. Practice ways of saying no that are kind and respectful. But don't put yourself in a situation where you're overextended simply because you couldn't say no, or you didn't know how to say no. Okay, the next card that comes up for us in this reading is the Emperor. And the Emperor is telling us that we need to kind of be the leaders and the masters of our own energy and time. We need to value our own energy and time. And that alone will make it, for one thing, it'll make it easier to say no when we do, but it will also change our perspective on the way that we spend our time. It will prevent us from doing things that are unnecessary or, unfulfilling in some way. And I don't just mean for us, but for others as well. Life is all about reciprocation. So we give and we receive in everything that we do. So if we don't have something, we may be in a position where we're just tired, or we're just recovering from an illness or whatever, and we don't have the energy to give to others. That's okay. That means we don't have it, we can't give it, and we have to, make decisions about whether or not to participate. So again, going back to being the masters of our own energy and time, once we become the masters of our own energy and time by appreciating our own energy and time, then we will make wiser decisions about the things that we do. So that's a simple explanation of that. I won't go deeper into that because we still have 4 more cards to go. So the next card that comes up is the 4 of Pentacles. And the 4 of Pentacles is saying in this particular reading that it's a good idea to know ahead of time what our priorities in life are. So sitting down, you can even sit down, get out a piece of paper and a pen, and, write down the things that are really important to us to life. What did I just say? I've been doing this all week. I've been mixing up my words. I was doing this when I was teaching, actually two yoga classes in a row. I did this week. Anyway, getting back to the reading. We can sit down with a piece of paper and a pen and write down the things that are important in our lives, that truly have meaning to us. And it could be something as big as relationships, building relationships with people. It could be something like living in a conscientious way, being gentle with the way that we live in terms of the earth and and dealing with other people. Whatever those things are that are important to you in the way that you live your life, write them down so that you can find clarity. In the beginning, you may not know, what is really important to you, but start writing things down, start making lists, start really putting some thought into, what are the things that have true meaning for me? What are the things that I would like to support in life? What are the qualities that that are important to me that I would like to have if I don't already have them, or, strengthen if I do already have them? But prioritizing, our lives in general, just prioritizing our lives in general. And then from there, looking at our actions and how they are supporting, how our actions and our thoughts and our words are supporting the things that we feel are important in life. Again, if relationships are important to us in life, if that's something that we feel we want to work on and hold them in a sacred space in our lives, then we're going to naturally try to make connections with people, right? We're going to naturally do things like be kind to people, things that support having healthy, loving relationships. That's how it goes. So being very clear about that. And we may even want to work backwards in life. We may want to say, okay, these are the things that are important. Therefore, I will, do A, B, and C in my life in order to support those things. Just as simple as that. It doesn't have to be complicated, but just being clear. And once we figure that out and we have an opportunity to participate in something, again, okay, I'll take it back to the relationship example. Say that's our thing. That's our important thing in life. And if we are invited to go on an adventure trip, hiking in the mountains, completely alone, that, if we get that opportunity, not invited, because that sounds like someone is going to be with us, someone's inviting us to go with them, but we get the opportunity to do something like that. If we want to work on relationships with people, then going off somewhere alone is not helping that cause. We could say no to that opportunity and maybe channel that energy into some way or some activity that allows us to build stronger, better relationships with people. Okay, that was a long explanation about very little, it seems. I don't know. I'm sorry. I felt like I was babbling a little. Okay, next card is the Seven of Wands. And the Seven of Wands is a very cool card in this particular reading. It kind of goes along with the card that I just read. That's been happening lately, I've noticed, when we do this reading, when I do these readings for the podcast, is that the cards all seem to be kind of building upon one another. This is something new. I haven't seen this before. Not like this. Anyway, okay, so the Seven of Wands is saying that once we, determine what is important to us in life, who we want to be in life, and where we need to put our energy, we need to then, like the first card said, set boundaries. But this card is telling us that we need to not just set boundaries, but to be steadfast in holding those boundaries. It's about, being very sure and being confident in our decisions. So again, excuse that noise. So again, if we have determined, okay, I'll keep it really simple today. We're all about relationships. I don't know why I'm sticking with that today, but say we've determined that relationships are the important things in our lives. That's something we want to work on. Then I'll go back to that other example. When that opportunity comes for us to go hike in the mountains all alone, then we're not going to have any doubts. We're not going to say, well, maybe I should go on that trip by myself. Maybe no. This card is telling us that we need to be firm and strong and decisive. Again, when we have attachments to things, when we think we have the obligations to things, we tend to kind of waffle, we can't make decisions. We don't know, what we should do. But this card is telling us that we need to be clear. So once we determine the things that are important to us, we need to be clear about them. That's why I was saying in the other card, with the other card, to sit down and write them down. And don't just write them down once. You can write them down and refine them and look over them and read over them. You don't have to do it all in one sitting. You can keep looking at it for a week, days at a time. Keep looking and saying, is this really important? Is that really important? And then we have to set those firm boundaries around those ideals for our lives. And once we protect it, then we will be firm. We will be decisive in saying, yes, I will participate in that. No, excuse that sound again. No, I will not participate in that. It's just as simple as that. Once we get there, it frees you up. It's so liberating to be able to be decisive in that way, because we don't spend a lot of time wondering and worrying if we made the right decision, or, maybe the people who organize that hiking trip in the mountains for individuals will be angry if I don't go, or will make me feel bad if I don't go. No, there's none of that. There is just simply saying that particular activity is not appropriate for my path in life. Therefore, I am not going to participate in that activity. So, okay, seems like another long explanation, but I'm just running with it. Okay, the next thing that comes up is the King of Cups. And so the King of Cups is telling me that we need to cultivate a sense of peace in our lives. We can't live simple, happy lives if we are always in anxiety. We can't make good decisions for ourselves if we're always in anxiety. And so what this card is saying to us is that we need to, first of all, find a sense of satisfaction with the things that we already have. We don't have to accumulate more things. I'm sorry. We don't have to accumulate more things. We don't have to accumulate more people just for the sake of having them. We need to look around at the things that we do have in life rather than focusing on what we don't have in life. We have to focus on what we do have in life and find that sense of satisfaction. Once we find that sense of satisfaction, we're not running around or looking for things to do or looking for, activities to get involved in. We are satisfied with what we have. And then from that perspective, it makes it much easier to make decisions about our time and our energy. If we're not satisfied, then we're constantly searching, we're constantly seeking out what we think will make us happier. And then we end up being busy because we're doing all of these things. We're trying to find the answers that are helpful for us. Meanwhile, if we just sit down and connect with a sense of peace and be satisfied with what's around us, we start to realize that we have everything we need. And then once we have that realization, then we can be present with the things that we have in our lives and perhaps even go deeper into them. Like I said before, it's not about breadth. It's not about the width of, everything that's, out there. It's about having the things that we need and possibly going deeper into them if we can. Our final card for this reading is the Knight of Wands, the Knight of Wands. And the Knight of Wands is reminding us that there is so much magic in simplicity. We do not have to have a lot of things in life. We do not have to have a lot of people. We can have a small group of friends who we connect with on a very deep level. We can have the right amount of things in our life that fulfill our needs. We can also connect deeper with the things that we have in our lives. That is the magic of our lives. That creates magic for us. Of course, going out and having nice experiences or exciting experiences is wonderful. But those things are only temporary. They only satisfy us for a certain amount of time unless we're able to go deeper into them. And we can't go deeper into them if we're all over the place. So appreciating that magic that we have in our daily lives just by going deeper into the experiences and things and sometimes people that we have in our lives. So I hope something I said there was helpful. I hope that, again, as I said at the beginning, you can find time to relax and go deeper and enjoy and find your sense of contentment. Thank you, woman, for being with me today. It was lovely to spend this time with you. If you listen to the podcast on one of the many platforms that it appears, I will talk to you again next month. If you are a Patreon subscriber, I will talk to and possibly even see you very, very soon. Have a beautiful week. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to this show. I hope you found something useful. Like everything in life, we can take what we need and leave the rest. Please feel free to contact me with comments or questions at womanonherpath@gmail.com.